In the last episode, Gangchul and Yiyori tried to seal the evil spirit Palchiakwi, but ultimately they failed. However, in episode 6, a more shocking scene appears. Namely, the child in the Empress's womb is in danger of being sacrificed. By the way, everyone, have you seen it? In the latter half of episode 6, the brief words spoken by that character hinted at the mastermind behind all these events. In today's video, we will highlight 3 crucial clues from episodes 5 and 6 of Gwigung that you absolutely cannot miss, as well as foreshadowing that will shake the characters' fates. Episode 5 of Gwigung begins with a mysterious murder case that unfolds in the palace. In the quiet dawn, Prince Yongin is found dead with no visible wounds, sending the palace into a state of fear. The abnormal stench emanating from near the corpse soon hints at the return of the evil spirit, Palchiakwi, which the former court lady had warned about. However, Yiyori's warning is still not trusted by the court figures, and her identity as a shaman only raises suspicion and rejection. Nevertheless, Yiyori is convinced that the Palchiakwi has reappeared, and she intends to resolve this situation with Gangchul. Meanwhile, Gangchul goes to seek out Master Gassip to find a way to completely eliminate the Palchiakwi. The answer given to him was simple yet fatal. It was that he had to exhaust all the energy of the luminous jewel, which was as precious as his own life, to eliminate the 8-legged monster. This meant giving up the chance for Steel to ascend as a dragon, and ultimately signified his own annihilation. For him, this choice was directly linked to the reason for existence, and after deep conflict, he decided to become Yiyori's body guardian, and confront the Palchiakwi together. The two performed the body guardian ritual, forming a pact of life and death, and began preparations to eliminate the Palchiakwi in earnest. Yiyori anticipated the appearance of the Palchiakwi on the 5th day of the month and arranged talismans throughout the palace, preparing countermeasures. Steel enhances the crescent moonblade with luminous energy and prepares for physical responses. In this process, the relationship between the two evolves from mere cooperation to an emotional bond. And Steel begins to see Yeri not just as a simple priestess, but as a being to be protected. However, their plans were not as easy as they had thought. The plan to lure and seal the Palchiakwi in the library has failed. And the Palchiakwi appears with even stronger energy. The talisman is rendered ineffective, the lunar blade does not work, and the power of the glow-in-the-dark object was only temporary. As a last resort, Yiyori attempts a high-level spell called Soul Seal to barely drive away the Palchiakwi. But that too was merely a temporary measure. In this battle, Gangchul realizes that the warning from Monk Gassip has become a reality. Meanwhile, it is revealed that another force controlling the Palchiakwi exists within the palace. At the center of it all was Pungsan, who was planning to sacrifice the unborn child of the future queen, as per the will of the heavenly general he serves. This was a shocking conspiracy that went beyond a simple power struggle, unfolding as an evil scheme that shook the very foundations of the palace. The king officially recognizes the Steel and the lady, appointing them as the chief of the court and the royal inspector. But some of the nobles and court ladies still distrust them and begin to exert control from the shadows. Especially as the presence of the lady grows, there are increasing movements to check her. And Pungsan is also taking advantage of this gap to spread manipulated public opinion. In the 5th installment, the complex interplay of fear and power, superstition and truth is delicately portrayed, with Yiyori and Gangchul emerging not just as simple exorcists or spirits, but as the key figures in restoring order to the royal court. It's not just about driving away ghosts. The journey of confronting the darkness of the royal family and human desires has officially begun. What awaits at the end? Episode 6 of Gwigung begins at a point where the boundaries between exorcism, power and conspiracy, and the divine and human are becoming increasingly blurred. At the end of episode 5, Yiyori and Gangchul fail in their mission to seal the Palchiakwi, and the palace is once again engulfed in an uneasy silence. However, amidst all this, the condition of the Empress is worsening, and the revelation that the child in her womb is also in danger casts a heavy and ominous atmosphere over the palace. In the early episodes, the queen is becoming weakened in body and mind due to the continuous nightmares. In her dreams, she repeatedly witnesses a mysterious figure engulfed in darkness, swallowing the child in her womb. Yuri enters the inner palace and, after surveying the surroundings, discovers an old human skull fragment in the queen's pillow. This piece was not merely intended to instill fear, but was part of a meticulously calculated dark sorcery. Someone was cursing the queen and the child within the palace. The existence of the skull was soon reported to the king, and the queen fainted in shock. The enraged king imprisoned all the court ladies in the main palace and granted Yuri the power to protect the palace. At this point, Yuri rises beyond being just a simple shaman to become a key figure in safeguarding the palace. Gangshul also uses the luminous pearl to create a barrier to protect the queen, establishing a full-scale joint response system. However, soon an unidentified evil spirit called Sasalgui attacks the palace. Sasalgui bites steel in a different way than Palchukwi and ambushes Yuri from behind, spreading poison. Yuri collapses, and Gangshul is engulfed in rage and responds, but the evil spirit does not easily disappear. Yuri squeezes out her last bit of strength, and says, "Someone is controlling this," leaving a clue that there is a human hand behind it. That human is Pungsan. On the surface, he appears to support the queen and shows loyalty to the affairs within the palace. But in reality, he was aware of the queen's pregnancy, and was planning to use the unborn child as a sacrifice for the recovery of the eight-legged spirit. He was serving an unknown being called Heaven and Earth General, and slowly poisoning the palace. Pungsan reports to the elder he serves and prepares for the next step. Meanwhile, a new entity appears on the outskirts of the capital. This is Bibi, the younger sibling of Gangshul and another Imugi. He has ambitions to become a black dragon by devouring humans and mocks Gangshul, whom he hasn't seen in a long time. He tells Gangshul, who is borrowing Yungap's body, that to escape that body, he must kill him, forcing a ruthless choice. Gangshul confronts with the promise made to Yuri, but his inner self is tangled in conflict. Bibi is not just a simple dragon, but a being that harbors extreme distrust towards humans. With her appearance, Gangshul is shaken between his nature as a dragon, his identity as a human named Yungab, and his feelings for Yuri. Gangshul, who wants to keep his promise to Yuri, finds himself at an increasingly complex crossroads, unable to guarantee his own survival in the face of the schemes of Palchiakwi and Pungsan. Yuri drags her fallen body back to the queen's chamber, and she senses a presence within the fetus, which feels not just like a simple life, but as if it is imbued with the power of a divine spirit. Yuri re-establishes the barrier with the determination to protect the queen and the fetus. Steele watches her from the side, shaken by the human emotions and sense of responsibility he has never felt before. He also recalls the promise he made to Yuri will never leave Yul and stands up again. Episode 6 of Gwigung goes beyond the mere appearance of evil spirits, showing how terrifying and organized human desires and curses can be. Beneath the genre of exorcism, politics, psychology, emotions, and the conflict between tradition and the future intersect, leading to a deeper narrative. Now, the real threat may not be the ghosts, but rather those who wear the faces of humans. Episodes 5 and 6 of Gwigung were not just a simple exorcism drama. The human desire that is scarier than evil spirits, and the fragile yet strong trust between Yuri and Gangshul. Did you see the preview for episode 7? If we delay, Yuri will die. The desperate cry of Steel, and the flesh-eating ghost. Has another being beyond the Palchukwi appeared? The curse targeting the Empress's unborn child, the forces behind Pungsan, and the confrontation between Bibi and Gangshul have now escalated to threaten Yuri's life. In the next episode, it seems that the attacks on Yuri will intensify. Can we protect her? What are your predictions? Please leave your opinions in the comments, and if you want to delve into the truth behind the mysterious narrative of Gwigung until the end, please subscribe and like. Subscriptions and likes are love.